family law seat, which is very likely to, you have a lot of pro se litigants. People with lawyers have an advantage, but it's not because they're lawyers or because the judge relates to them anymore. The advantage is that you have people with the tools and the knowledge of how to get evidence in. The big problem for pro se litigants, because I've seen it myself in the courtroom, is they don't know how to get their evidence in. So they can't present everything they want to present because they don't know how. So absolutely, it's going to be a disadvantage for somebody who doesn't have a lawyer in that respect, but you need judges that are comfortable to deal with pro se litigants. And you can't give them legal advice, so it's a very fine line to walk, but that's why you want to try to be very professional, treat everybody with courtesy to make it the best environment possible to hopefully bring out the truth, because that's the whole point of the courtroom, is to bring out what actually happened. I mean, the judge's job is a finder of fact oftentimes if there's not a jury there, and then when you find those facts, you have to apply the law. It starts with the facts.
Case in point, it was down here, and I don't know the legal terms. However, the case was, shall we say, dismissed or whatever, and the defendant is going to walk out of the courtroom quite happy with her attorney, and the judge intervened and said, now wait a minute, if you accept that, that means it can be brought up again. So do you really want to accept it? In other words, the judge helped the defendant. Would you be doing that?
Well,
can you do that?
When you're talking about defendant, I assume you're referring to criminal court. So one thing important to know about criminal court is any defendant who's got the potential of going to jail at all or getting any incarceration is entitled to counsel, and they would have a public defender assigned if they don't have the money. Or they can choose to represent themselves, but that's a personal choice. But they would have an opportunity, whether they can afford it or not, to have an attorney. So no, I could not, if elected, I could not give somebody legal advice, but keep in mind in criminal court there's what we call a plea colloquy. So if somebody is entering a plea, the judge does have to go through whether they're doing it knowingly and voluntarily and understand the consequences of it.
And also if they have a mental health issue or a medication.
Yeah, you're basically seeing if they're competent and voluntarily entering the plea. So there are certain things legally a judge would have to do to make sure that that plea is a voluntary, competent plea, if that makes sense. So the judge has to go through a colloquy. Doesn't mean they're giving legal advice, though. They can't give legal advice.
No.
But they do have to make sure that somebody has advised a defendant of what they're giving up as well. That's why they go through the 5 rights.
Well, Karen's got to get, Ms. Foxman's got to get to the next chicken dinner event and get home to the family. So why don't we say thank you one more time, and we'll move on to the next.
Thanks very much. Appreciate it.